Senator Cameron.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Broadband, Communications and the Digital Economy, Senator Conroy. Can the Minister advise the Senate on countries other than Australia who are building fibre to the home?
Minister for Broadband, Communications and the Digital Economy, Senator Conroy.
Thank you, Mr President. Could I thank the Senator for his question? Mr President, the opposition spokesman, the member for Wentworth, has attacked Australian technology writers for being pro-NBN zealots, and he's called on them to look overseas. Well, Mr President, we've gone looking, and what have we found? You might have noticed, Mr President, New Zealand. In New Zealand, they dumped fibre to the node and are now building fibre to the home. And just 2 weeks ago, New Zealand's Minister for Communications, on a visit to Australia, was asked, why did you dump fibre to the node for fibre to the home? And this is what she had to say, Mr President, because FTTH is the most comprehensive and future-proof network that they could build. Now, I have, Mr President, previously informed the Senate of France Telecoms, which is building fibre to the home to 15 million French homes by 2020. And the opposition spokesman, the member for Wentworth, knows France Telecom well, as he's an investor in what he described as a good value share. So, Mr President, we've turned to Spain. What is Spanish Telefonica doing? Well, Mr President, it's investing in fibre to the home. Telefonica has commenced in 2011 what has been described as a very aggressive deployment project to offer fibre to the home, including bringing, Mr President, 100 megabit services to 1.3 million premises in Madrid. Mr Turnbull, Mr President, asked us to look overseas. Well, we have. And what we see, Mr President, is fibre to the home in France, in Spain, in New Zealand. And Mr Turnbull needs to commit to building fibre to the home for Australia's future.
Senator Cameron.
Thank you, Mr President. Is the Minister aware of any claims of a lack of investment in fibre to the home in other countries?
Minister.
Mr President, the member for Wentworth asserted in Paris last year that where investment decisions are made by the private sector, FTTH is being reconsidered in favour of improved technologies over copper. Yet, as I've just described, Mr President, the private sector in Spain and France are investing in fibre to the home. So let's follow Mr Turnbull's money, not his mouth. Let's follow his money. And what does it show us? Did Mr Turnbull invest in Telecom New Zealand when they were building FTTN? No. Has Mr Turnbull invested in BT, in fibre to the node? No. Did he invest in France and fibre to the home? Yes. And what do we discover today? Ole! The Register of Members' Interest reveals that Senor Turnbull has invested in Telefonica bonds that are helping to finance
Time has
Spain's fibre to the home.
Senator Cameron.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Conroy. Can the Minister inform the Senate of any possibilities for Australians to invest in the national broadband network?
Minister.
Mr President, the NBN is an investment by the Australian government in the future economic prosperity of our nation. It is being financed by the government as a piece of important national infrastructure that will also provide a return of 7%. The NBN is underway and will meet the target of fibre work for 758,000 premises to be commenced or completed by the end of this calendar year. In the future, NBN Co will raise debt. Mr President, in the future, NBN Co will raise debt to complement the equity investments made by the Australian government. Now, Mr President, I don't know when NBN Co will issue their bonds. To finance the remainder of their bill. But what I can promise you, Mr President, is that we will hold a place open for Mr Turnbull so he can invest in fibre to the home in this country like he's done in France
Time's
and
expired.
Spain.
Time's expired.